Hey there, Stampin' friends. Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers, and I have a Stampin' show and tell to share with you today. We're going to be working with a faux silk technique. I've done this in the past, but I'm going to do it again. And so this is the card I'm going to duplicate for you today in the demonstration. It'll be mostly the same, but we'll see how it differs at the end. So let me go ahead and tell you what we need. We're going to need a stamp set. I'm going to use the Art Gallery stamp set. I'm also going to use Pale Papaya and Calypso Coral as my two colors in my two-part stamping. Now I have a card base, I have a layer for mounting, and then this piece is going to be part of our faux silk. Okay? So what we do for faux silk is we stamp on a piece of tissue paper. This is tissue paper you just get at the dollar store, you use to wrap your presents, right? Tissue paper. So I'm using white tissue paper, and then I have a piece of cardstock that I'm going to use underneath when I do my mounting. So I know about how big I need it, so I'm just going to trim my paper down a little bit closer to true size. I'm going to let it hang over the edge a little bit, but I don't want too much at the end to have to deal with. Okay, so you can see I just have about ½ inch all the way around, right? No fussy cutting there. It's just rip, tear, make it size to fit. Okay, so we're going to start with our stamping. Okay, so we're going to do two-step stamping. I'm going to do the full image in the Pale Papaya, and I'm just going to stamp this 3 times. So now you might notice that your colors are a little bit lighter on the tissue paper. That's because of the fibers in the paper. If you want to, you could re-ink your stamps and make them nice and juicy before you start, but then your paper might be kind of wet, so I'm just going to go with the way they are. Now I am going to stamp off my Calypso Coral because I don't want it quite so dark. And I'm just going to line this up over my image for that two-step stamp effect. So just line those up and we can see through our stamp, so that's a great, fun, easy technique we can do there. Okay, now I need to add my stems, and here we're going to do some selective stamping. So you can see I can do the one in the middle. That's just going to go right here. Okay, that one's fine. But I don't want to stamp over my flower, and if I stamp here, it's going to do exactly that. So I'm going to clean off my stamp, and then watch this fun, easy stamp trick. So on this side, I want my stem and this leaf, right? Get that water off. So I'm going to do my stamp head. So I want the right-hand side. So I'm just going to ink up on the edge of my stamp pad that part. You could do it with a mask, you could do it with your marker, but we're just going to do it by selectively inking our stamp on our pad. So now on this side, I've cleaned it off again, I want the opposite side. So I'm just going to roll my stem and that leaf over here and then put that down. And just like that, I've got stems and flowers, and I didn't over ink anything, and everything is good to go. Okay, so we're going to let that dry for a minute before I move on. I've already stamped with the Calypso Coral and die cut with the coordinating die my happy birthday sentiment, so I'm going to use that on my card as my embellishment. Now one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dye some ribbon. So here it is. I'm using this very vanilla ribbon, right, lacy ribbon, and I'm going to dye it. I think I did it with the Pale Papaya. So I have my Pale Papaya. Now, normally I would do this with a blend or with my markers, but I don't have the blend or the marker for this color. So I'm going to do it with my stamp pad. So I have my stamp pad, I have a piece of just scrap paper, and I have my ribbon. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put my ribbon down on my ink pad, and I'm going to press it into the ink pad. I'm just transferring the ink, right? So why not? See, it's dyeing it. So I'm just going to move it along, and I'm just going to keep pressing it into my ink pad to dye my ribbon. So the more you press, the more color is going to transfer. I'm not worried about it being variegated. It's okay with me, so I'm not worried about getting it all exactly the same intensity. If I want to go back and add some more before I cut it to use it, I can do that. Now I want about 10 inches, so that's about 8, so I need to do another length. So I'll do one more length here. And you can see I'm kind of moving it up and down on my ink pad, so I'm not taking the ink from the same location on my stamp pad every time. Now I will probably need to re-ink when I'm done because it was kind of light to start with and now I'm sucking up a lot of ink out of it. But it's an easy way to transfer color over to ribbon. So, alright, I think we have enough there. So I'm just going to trim that off, and now I've got dyed ribbon for my project. Okay, so, got my ribbon, I've done my stamping, leave that for now. Alright, so back to our tissue paper. So we've got our stamped image on our tissue paper. So what we're going to do, now nobody panic, everybody ready? Take a deep breath. I'm going to crinkle it up, okay? Crinkle it up, roll it around. Now I'm just going to open it, but I'm not worried about getting all the wrinkles out, right? If I did that, why would I bother wrinkling it? Part of the technique is for it to be wrinkled. Okay, that's part of the art. Okay, so now I'm going to use my mono adhesive, my liquid adhesive, and I'm going to ink up the whole front of this piece of cardstock. So right to the edges. I don't want it super heavy, but I want it kind of everywhere. So right down the edges. Nice and tacky. Okay, so now I'm going to put my image over the top and I just press it down to the cardstock. And kind of press my stamped image into my layer. Okay? Now you could come along and just trim it with your paper snips. I'm actually going to wrap mine around the back. So I'm just going to add a little more adhesive to my edges. And then I'm just going to wrap it behind. So you could, like I said, you could trim it and then just use your paper snips, but I'm just going to wrap it behind. Kind of like a canvas, okay? Alright, so there is my faux silk panel. Okay, so now my faux silk panel is going to get mounted onto my coordinating pale papaya. And that one I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add my adhesive to the back. Spread that around a little bit. We'll make sure it stays down. Press that in. So I just want those layers to adhere together. Okay, now I'm going to add my ribbon. So I'm just going to put some of my Stampin' Seal along my edge here so I can have something to tack my ribbon edge into. I'm going to cut my ribbon a little bit longer so it'll wrap and tack. 1 and 2. Okay, so now I just bring this around and I'm going to put one down low and just wrap and tack on the back. And then I'm going to put a second layer right over the top. So I'm just kind of making like a frilly embellishment with the dyed ribbon. No bow, just a ribbon banner across there. Okay, so now I want to come back and I really want to press that into my adhesive so it really sticks. Now, this layer I'm going to use dimensionals to go ahead and adhere it to my base. So, get some dimensionals on here. And if you want to, you could even use dimensionals to hold down the ends of your ribbon, just for extra adhesion. Okay, so now I have my white card base, and I'm just going to put this on, mount it up, frame it, just like that. And there we go. We got our faux silk with our dyed ribbon, and then I've got my sentiment. Now these sentiments, I do use the mini glue dots because this is a really skinny little banner die. So I'm just going to put over the top edge of my ribbon here. And then I'm going to bring in my iridescent rhinestones. I think these are one of my favorite embellishments right now. And I'm just going to add a few, just to add a little sparkle and bling to it. See, I'm going to add one down here on the sentiment. Oop, stick over here, please. And there we go. Kind of fun. So there we have it. Another technique that I hope you will go ahead and give it a try. Remember, it's just tissue paper, stamp it, let it dry a little bit, crinkle it, adhere it to a panel, and then build your card right on top. So how do we do? Here's my first one. I had a few more of those embellishments there. And then the one I just did. So kind of fun, similar, but different. So I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, my instructions are on my blog. The link is found below. You can find my tutorial, and please leave me a comment. Let me know that you enjoyed the video. So I'll see you again soon, and if you're shopping with me, you'll be getting your thank you cards very soon with your fun crafting kits. Alright guys, thank you and have a great day. Happy stamping!